All right, here we go, another Parawing video, and today I want to go and test upwind ability back-to-back BRM versus flow, and see what we can do going upwind. It's around 16 to 18 knots at the moment. I want to do something quick, something that I can test both Parawings in the same conditions. It's obviously never the same. But what I want to do is go out, take one Parawing, go out 1 kilometer, come back 1 kilometer, check where my GPS stats are, come back to shore, change, and do that again as quick as I can to try to keep them, you know, in the same kind of wind scenario and same wind conditions that are out there today. So like I said, 16 to 18 knots. I might just take my downwind aboard just to make it easy, get out there and get up on foil immediately. I'm thinking also 1130s. Again, I just want to get up, and I'm not going to be riding downwind or anything. So 1130s with a 135 tail, 80 mast, medium fuse, and testing both Parawings going upwind for 1 kilometer. Tack out, 1 kilometer, tack in, and then check. Let's see how we go. Very flaky conditions, so it's on and off. There's some bits out there that are pretty glassy, so I'll just get out of the wind line. As soon as I'm up, I'll count 1 kilometer and come back and repeat that again and see how far we can go upwind with each of these kites. We're up, flying very beautifully, not overpowered, it's decently powered. Let's see how far we can go upwind. Good run. Yeah. Plenty going upwind. And now, riding toe side with this, just riding on the front lines like nothing. There's nothing. And the thing with these kites is you need power to get up. But once you're up, you don't want that power. So the ability to depower and relieve the pressure from, you know, riding always powered is so nice. It's so nice. I'm with one hand and just like cruising on the front lines. Oh, good punks. right, we'll try the BRM now. Wind has picked up slightly, so might be not a bad thing because the BRM is slightly smaller, so we'll see how it reacts now. Flying well, but you can see already how it collapses with the when you ride it on the front lines. This is what it does, and the flow has none of that, which is crazy. Let's see how it goes up one. Starting the clock now. Cool. Feels good. Flying well. Decently powered, but again, if I want to depower it to go further upwind, you see how the kite collapses, and the flow has none of that. None of that. Very similar time in a 3 minute. Well, I'll tell you, I'm much less comfortable riding the BRM. Even if it's a smaller kite, it just feels like more work. And it's a lot to do with this very limited throw in the bar and response you get. See that? That's what happens when you depower it. It doesn't allow you to fly it on the front lines. So your ability to go upwind is a little bit compromised with it. And I'm not sure, I think both of them were equally as easy to get up. But yeah, even though the BRM is a 4 meter, it feels like more work compared to the 4.2 to handle in these winds. And it's probably 16 to 18 knots. It's still the same thing. You get, you know, some good little gusts of 18, and then it just stays there, but then it drops to 16. But this is harder work. Even now, like, I'm going to try to ride on the front line. The kite completely stops, and I have to reposition my front hand to always have a little tension on the rear. So if you always have tension on the rear, you can't fully depower, and that's massive now. So this is a big difference and a big evolution already when you're flying, when you're buying your Parawing, and if you have the ability to try it on land, fly it on the front lines. See how it performs when depowered, because you will need it. You will need it. right, session over. Heaps to unpack on that one. Really helpful to go out with the Parawings back to back. Hadn't done that before, and they give you a completely different feel. Going from one to the other, you could really sense what you like and what you prefer. But I felt that going upwind with the flow was so much easier, and by like a big margin, not a little margin. So with the flow, the one thing that I think it's very important for everybody to notice is its ability to ride in the front lines. And what I mean by that is the ability of the Parawing to fly stably when fully depowered. So you got the rear lines fully released and with no tension, and you're just flying it on the front lines, and that helps you with upwind angle, number one. But the second thing it helps you with as well is to be able to go out in conditions that are a little bit overpowered for the kite, the size of your Parawing. Now, when I try to do that with the BRM, it doesn't handle flying on the front lines well. And what it does, as soon as I depower the rear lines and I have it fully sheeted out, the kite wants to close on itself. And it does that in a way that it closes and open, it closes and open, and it just doesn't like flying like that until you put some pressure and some line tension on the rear lines, and then it pops up again. But if you release it, it just wants to fold on itself and collapse, and then it does this thing where it opens and closes and opens and closes, and it's just, it doesn't ride like that. In comparison to flow, I can ride it with the bar sticking upwards, meaning the rear line's fully depowered, and it just stays there. And when you're riding, you also create apparent wind, which helps the flow of air go through the Parawing, and then you can keep flying it like that, even with very little steering, because the rear lines help you steer the kite. So that by itself was really, really important to notice. And what I'll do next, I'm gonna do a video shooting both Parawings, just flying them on land and showing this ability of depowering ability that the flow has that I haven't seen yet in the BRM, and it doesn't respond well to it. And keep in mind that the BRM that I'm flying has the updated bridle configuration, so it's at its best performance possible, and still it has like probably a fourth of the depower that the flow has. The flow, you can completely depower, get rid of all the tension in the rear lines, and it flies beautifully. The second thing is just the stability of the kite. When I bring the flow up in the air, it's just this rigid canopy, and it feels like there's rigid pieces in it because it's so stable. But the downside of that, and that's probably the one thing that I think the BRM has on the flow, is the material that the BRM uses is thinner, so the kite feels lighter. And when you're depowering and going through the lines and packing it up, it's a smaller package, and that is something nice. When you're depowering the kite and you have it completely in your hand, it turns into a very small ball of material, which is easier to manage and put it in your belt and all that stuff. The Parawing, the Flow D-Wing, it's a 4.2, so it's slightly bigger, but beyond that, the material that they use is a little bit thicker, which has pros and cons, right? It will have a much longer lifespan than the BRM. Just feeling it, you can notice that. However, when you're depowering it and stashing it, it is a bigger thing to manage. It's a bigger thing for you to fold and continue to fold and get air out. So when I stash the BRM, I stash it super quick and get it in super quick. When I stash the Flow, it takes me a little bit more to get that air out, release the air, and then pack it in. But it comes at the advantage of definitely a longer lifespan because the material is super different. But also it comes with everything that I spoke about with this stability, with this ease of flight. It flies incredibly well. So I'm going to have a look at the data. I haven't looked at the GPS. I don't even know if the GPS is going to be helpful or not. I'll go back to the computer, download these files, and we'll have a look at them.
Cool. So I think I was able to collate the data in a way that is easy to understand. So what you're looking here is the first run. The tracking in blue is the BRM. The track in red is the flow. So I lined up the starting points, and you can see the green is where I started both trackings. And the BRM, you could see that the BRM drifted downwind slightly compared to the flow, that I was able to maintain upwind line in a little bit of a better way here. And this was the first one where there was a little bit less wind. It was around the 16 knot mark, and the flow outperformed the BRM, even though the BRM was flying, within its range, and both wings were flying with no issue at all. So the first run, the flow took it. Run number two, a little bit more interesting. There was a little bit more wind, and I was able to start from the beach and get going straight away. So I didn't have to go out to the wind line. And again, you could see how the flow went upwind more efficiently. And now it starts to highlight this issue with the BRM having that limited range, that limited ability to release the rear lines and depower the kite while you're riding. In 18 knots, it was a little bit stronger, not much, but it was definitely easier to get up. And the wind had filled in closer to the sand. You could see that the distance that I was able to stay upwind with the flow now is a lot bigger than compared to the first one, when it was still visible. But as the wind picks up, I believe this difference will get greater and greater. So look, I hope this helps. Next video, I'll do just shooting the flow and the BRM on land, and just trying to show this depowering ability that these Parawings have to have in order to perform well. And we've already seen a big improvement from the first few that went out to now some more recent releases. So I'll do this video next just to highlight this importance of depowering in Parawing. Cool.